Eric, Richie, Alexander, Leo, you're next on episode 26 of the Red Golf Swing Analysis Series. Good evening, Line Golf Academy members and guests, and welcome back to another episode of the Red Golf Swing Analysis. This is episode number 26. Today we have 4 new submissions for you to take a look at, and I'm going to look at these swings for the first time as well. Keep in mind, you don't have to be involved in Reddit to submit a swing, so if you wish me to take a look at your cause and effect, link is in the description below. As an email, just go in and send a front view and down the line. Make sure the down the line is at least knee height, right behind your foot line, so we can see the path issues, and down the line captures most of your swing. Doesn't matter if we capture the club in the backswing or not, but just most of your swing's good enough. And don't forget as well that we have started our Spot the Line challenge, so sometime during this video there'll be a little line popping up. I might have them in the bush, or it might be just a big line, whatever it is. But if you're the first person to timestamp that line, you'll be entered to win a drawing at the end of the month. We're going to do this every month. So every video, just find a line and put the timestamp. So if you do a lot of these timestamps, you're almost guaranteed a win. So you might actually get an autographed CD of my first single, Hooks and Slices, Make the World Go. Never mind, it's not even real. Let's get to it. It's probably going to be an autograph card or something. First up, we have Eric. Eric, let me look at your notes. Basically says, feel free to cut them and use them as needed. And let me see, one more email. Nothing. Okay, so perfect. Okay, Eric, so I'm gonna guess you're from Massachusetts. I don't know why, but that building in the back looks very bricky and Massachusettsy. So let's take a look at your swing. No feedback from you in terms of your ball flight or anything like that, but we'll just take a look and see what we have to work with. Okay, lower body kind of shoving out on you a little bit. Let's see the next one. Was that good? Is that a real ball? What is that? Is that some plastic ball you got going on there? Okay, so right off the bat, let's do this one. Let me draw the lines here. Okay, Eric, so redrew the lines. Let's just take a look at your setup first of all. So setup looks pretty good. You have a little bit of shoulder tilt, which is natural. Right hand's lower than the left, which is fine. Your spine angle goes right through the hands, pretty close to the golf ball. So in terms of your setup, looking really good. Let me delete these lines here so we don't confuse ourselves. And let's take a look at that backswing. As you take that club back, okay, we look at parallel. Arms are pulling back slightly, not too bad, but you can see that right leg is pushing over that brace line. You want that thing to be braced right against that right side. You don't want to push over it because you can see your inside of your right foot there is starting to bow this way. Now when it's bowing that way, most of your weight shifted onto the outside of your sole, and it's really hard to push off on anything. The only thing you can do to get the transfer of energy is to kind of bow the other way. So right now you have a little bit of a tilting issue with the hips, so that's going to cause some weight distribution. Look at that right leg, it's really bowed over, that knee's really bowed over. There's not much rotation, that's more of a tilt. Because there's not much rotation in your hips, your upper body's kind of suffered with rotation as well. So to make up that rotation, your hands and arms pull that club back to parallel. But that's, I hate to use this word, but that's almost a fake backswing, because maybe you hear the club needs to get to parallel, but that's a fable. That's not true at all. That club needs to be connected to your chest as long as it can, and only very few people in the world can get that club to parallel on a true rotation. Not even Tiger can get there. If you take a look at his iron swings, he might have got there back when he was in his late teens and early 20s when he was like Gumby. But today, he doesn't get anywhere near parallel if he's turning correctly. So most of our clubs need to be probably up in this region here. And that's really helps you conserve your power, deliver your power efficiently. You don't have to reconnect on the way down. I would imagine you do a lot of tilting back under to get that right hip to go towards the target, and then your hands kind of prematurely release a little bit. So there's that. Ooh, you don't really catch up enough. You can see you're at this point, you know, your left knee's crossing that impact line, which is good, but your upper body's still kind of pointing towards the target. You know, you can see your spine is still in that position, so you actually have an increased spine tilt, where you want that to be more leveled and almost trying to go back the other way. And that's just because you rocked over and you haven't really rocked back. As we keep going through, see if I slow this down a little bit here. Okay, so right before you hit, this is the frame before you hit the golf ball. You can see that club head is catching up a little too soon. You're starting to lose your angle. And that's just a sign of trying to reconnect. And when you reconnect, your hands have to move a little bit quicker and they start releasing too soon. And so you have, you know, even though your upper body has has a decreasing angle of attack, you're actually going to start scooping this ball. So I would imagine sometimes you hit the ball very high, maybe left and right. So this just doesn't work out to be in your favor over time. At impact, you can see your hands are striking ahead of the golf ball, which is fine, but how it got there, you know, the next frame, you're probably going to be flipping underneath it because you're not really compressing the ball at this point. If the golf ball was back here, you'd be all right. You can see that's where you make contact with the ground. The hands are pressing forward, but you're about a frame behind. So lower body is just too active on the way through because it's too active on the way back. It's not really turning, it's more tilting and shoving your upper body. Upper body's kind of staying like this, as opposed to just posting up, turning and turning. Now keep in mind, that is more of a traditional approach. I'm well aware of stack and tilt. I was a stack and tilt swinger myself. I think stack and tilt is great for the right body type. What I look for is I just look for immediate power source leaks that I see. Now, will that work for you? Who knows? This is where you have to start working with the golf professional, where he or she can work with your motions, get your range of motion testing, see if you're physically capable of doing this. Not knowing any of that, it's kind of hard for me. But let's take a look at it down the line. Okay, Eric, so down the line, I drew the lines here so you don't have to watch me draw them. Now I see where you are. It was a little confusing at first, so it looks like you got a little rollout mat that you take with you in the back seat of your 4Runner. I just pop up your pop-up tent. That's a man living my dream. Just take the range with you wherever you go, so kudos to you. Let's take a look at your head action. I forgot that headline there. And again, I'm going with Massachusetts. It looks very wood-like. You can see you're a little bit hunched over. It doesn't say what club this is, so I'm going to guess a mid-iron to a high iron. And for that, obviously you want to be a little bit more tilty, but because your legs are kind of bent a lot, that doesn't get your tilt over as much as you might think. Straighter legs will get you to tilt your upper body over more if it's a high lofted iron, but if this is a mid-iron, that's a little bit too squatty. So definitely some issues with your feet supporting your hips. So the back of your foot is supporting the front of your hips, and the front of your foot is supporting your shoulders. So this is where it's mostly supporting. So you want them a little bit more under your rear end, so you can hold that spine angle. Because from here, you know, as you're front loaded, when you take that club back, you might start shifting back and forth to help you out. But let's take a look at what goes on here. So club is riding right at that plane line. Beautiful takeaway here. You can see your club head is matching your spine angle, which is great. From this point, we know that your hips are shifting out. So let's see what happens here. Slight bit of disconnection going on right there. So you can see how long those arms go back. You can really see that right hip kind of shoving out towards us, because look at that right, you know, your right sole. You don't even see that sole anymore. If we go back to the beginning, you can see your sole on that right edge disappears in the turf there. So you're definitely getting that weight too far outside. You try and stay in your spine angle, which is really good, but those arms should basically be, based on this turn, that's where they should be stopping. Now, you can get a better width of arc by keeping your hands more extended out towards your chest. That's gonna elongate that left side. You're gonna feel a lot of pressure on that left side. That's a good thing you wanna feel. You wanna feel that pressure so you can pull down into the golf ball, but I'm sure you start losing that pressure with this motion here. Also, that left foot comes up. I don't mind seeing the left foot up, but it might be coming up because the whole upper body is going too far back, and that's where you start leaning towards that left side. Loses a lot of power because that power is shoved out to your right foot, and you can pick up that left leg because there's nothing on there. So a little bit of some issues here. Let's see how we do though. Okay, so from this point, once that club gets to here, this is basically where the club should travel. Now, that's assuming that you're going to hold your spine angle and everything's going to rotate down correctly. Typically, from that point on, the club should go straight down to that golf ball. If we see some rerouting with the club head moving below or above that plane, that's some issues there. So let's see what happens. Okay, yeah, it stays on, it drops down. You can see it goes a little bit below that shaft line. You can see how much room you've gone into the golf ball. So there's your new spine angle line. Your back brace line, there's your new spine angle line. So you're kind of pushing up as you're running out of room, and that's just that lack of turn and the lack of connection that you're feeling, and now you're just kind of throwing at it, and then you're kind of throw release, and you can see how quick that exit path comes up. That club head comes up already, and you're about 3 or 4 frames past impact. So definitely a lot of just instability. I'm a huge believer in keeping it stable, wide, connected, and together. It just looks a little bit off plane, excuse me, off sequence. So hopefully that helps. Let me know about Massachusetts. Kudos to the driving range. I love it. You can go wherever you want and hit some golf balls. So I wish more people like that, and I hope you have a teaching pro. If not, go look into one. Let's see who's next. All right, next up we have Richie. Richie, let's take a look at your notes here. Try to combat a reverse C coming over the top. Also trying to increase my angle of attack with the driver. Hopelessly chasing Rory's high draw flights. Aren't we all, my friend? We're all chasing that. A lot of similarities. Rick, okay, I remember Rick. Okay, that's true. You guys have the same name. Then why is your name Richie on here? So forgive me, it's not Richie, it's Rick. So that intro, just replace Richie for Rick. Sorry. All right, Rick. So let's take a look here. In terms of your setup, you can see I drew some lines here. That spine angle, excuse me, that shoulder tilt's a little bit off. And for the life of me, I can't zoom in on this thing. So forgive me if this is a little bit too small. So I might have to do some, let me move my face around and let me see if I can zoom in when I edit this thing. But in terms of that setup, it looks, I get what you're trying to hit up on it. Hands are at least going right through the center of your spine, which is good. That club head is sitting back below a little bit, which is fine. It's a slight forward press based on that setup. That could cause some issues with turning and tilting to hold that angle. But what we'll do is we'll put a spine angle right here to see how we change that on the way back. So let's go here. Let's find a way to scroll this. Some videos allow me to scroll and some don't. All right, Rick, so let's take a look at the swing here. Okay, you do a lot of good things. I'd say your spine angle tries to maintain itself. It shifts forward. There's your new spine angle. It's on basically the same motion as your address, which you want to see a little bit of increase. So I'm really curious to see if you lose your posture, because I see both feet are up in the air on the toes. That's not necessarily what you're trying to do. I know that you're probably trying to push everything that you have built up into that motion and into that impact position. But typically when we see standing up in the toes, we lose a lot of posture at impact. And I can see, look at that right shoulder. It looks very congested in that area. So the right shoulder kind of stops and then your hands kind of release and take over, borderline flipping. But they're doing that because maybe they're running out of room. So down the line will really show if you really crash into the golf ball and you have nowhere to move. So just from this point of view, I mean, your setup looks okay. I wouldn't really change much. I know you're trying to hit up on it, maybe level those shoulders up just a tad. I don't think they need to be that much tilt, but it all depends on if you're able to hold it. But your right side braces that impact line. There's a tiny bit of shifting forward you can see here. So arms appear very low. So we'll have to look at the down the line, and that tiny little bit there, you can see your upper body kind of stands up a little bit, and so that might mess with your impact. But here, that right there looks a little bit worrying, and we'll figure out why on the way back. Okay, let's just jump straight to the down the line, because I think that's going to open up Pandora's box. Okay, Rick, let's see down the line now. So setup. Okay, let's just take a look at the motion before I start talking about starting positions. Okay, yeah, so you definitely lose a lot of spine angle. Okay, so it's going to sound weird, but I think you just need to stand taller at the starting position. So you look very squatty. This looks almost like an iron aggressive motion where you're trying to strike down and get closer to the ground. But at impact, you can see how much there's your impact position. So your head's trying to stay in that box. Your head doesn't have to stay in a magical box. What causes the head to stay in the box is your upper body being very connected to where it started. So yeah, we're going to move slightly. Yeah, we're going to have our hands up to compensate for that shaft droop. So I understand that you can't get to impact exactly the same. Things have to change position wise, but if you look at your spine angle, has to stay basically the same, and that back brace line to help you stay in that spine angle and get your body to rotate correctly and tilt under. From this point of view, you can see you've lost a little bit coming into the golf ball, but most importantly is look at that new spine angle. So your spine angle is coming up, which will cause your plane, your hands, when you come up, your hands actually come up with them. So as you come up, your hands raise, which could cause some of your concern for that over the top, because when your hands raise, they come up with your body. It's really hard to raise your hands and keep your arms going down. It just doesn't make sense while that centrifugal force carries through. So things are looking to escape through your body down to ground. So if you're spinning, they're going to want to escape away from that center point and then go down. They don't just escape down and then go out. So your arms go out from the center as you spin, like an ice skater. And then along with that, the club goes with it too. So if that angle changes, everything changes with that. So I think that's where your issue is, coming slightly over the top. However, if you look at your plane lines, so there's the start position. Your left arm should be right where that top plane line is. So your left arm should be about, it's low, you can see it's higher, but look what happened to your spine. Your spine actually came up from your original position. So I'm going to draw your new spine angle. So there's your new spine angle. So you see, you're trying to raise up to a more comfortable level so you can turn. So, you know, I think from going down and then going up, and then you just stuck it up, it changes your path, changes everything. So ideally, again, if you look at that angle, let me delete some of these. There's just too many lines, right? You're probably like, well, which line? I can't even see the lines. So let's just leave this one here. That's what I'm looking at. So that's basically the path of your club is going to come back down if it truly goes down there. So there's your, see, look at that. The grip's following that, grip's following that. It's good, 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 good. Look at that. It's connected on there. Grip's following it. It's doing fine. It goes right down where it's set at the top. So it's nothing in your motion. Your motion's pretty good. I mean, you do a lot of really good things. But hopefully you can see from this angle that by starting a little bit too squatted over, as you're standing and trying to turn, you know, it's really hard to turn a lot and stay down, especially with the driver when it's so far away from you. So, you know, this sounds like a Band-Aid, this sounds like a quick fix, but it probably is. Stand a little bit taller so you feel more natural. I just, you know, work from that position. Try not to tilt as much too. It's a starting point. So kind of neutralize everything and then just take your motions now. That's not gonna all of a sudden flip a light switch and hit it like Rory. You're not gonna all of a sudden bust it down the middle, but at least it might give you the sequencing, the correct positions for sequencing. So then you can work on staying on that brace line. You can work on transitioning your power a little bit more effectively to the back left heel instead of jumping up at it. So hopefully that helps you. Hopefully it makes sense. I don't know if I guess where you're from, but let's just say Maine. I'm sticking with an East Coast thing. Maine, let me know. And let me know in the comment box if that makes sense to you. If not, I'll fill in some more stuff. Good luck to you. All right, next we have Leo. Leo, let me just take a guess where you're from. Since I'm sticking to East Coast theme today, I'm gonna say Chicago. I know that's not East Coast, but it's somewhere near the East Coast. Let's just hear with Chicago. And I say that, do you have a Bears? Does that say Chicago Bears? I didn't see that. But maybe I just, man, Chicago. If it is in Chicago, Beverly Country Club, one of the best clubs I've ever played. So if you ever get the opportunity to play there, and if you're from Chicago, Beverly Country Club, awesome facility. All right, let's take a look here. Let me first look at your notes first of all. The notes are just blank. I love that. So hopefully I can help you out here, Leo. Let's take a look. Take a look at your swing first of all. Okay. All right, so I'm not sure how long you played. I kind of remember your post, so forgive me, but I want to say you're fairly new, within a couple of years. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But if you are fairly new in a couple of years, you've got a lot of good core motions going on here, a lot of rotation, which is great. There's a little upper body leaning. You know, your tilting is a little bit off, which throws your impact position. By the way, I love those Crocs. I got a pair just, mine's blue though. I like the blue Crocs. My blue Crocs would go great with your outfit. Maybe we should do a little tradesy, because I got a gray outfit that'll look great with those Crocs. Size 10.5. If we're the same, let's switch it up. All right, let's take a look. So we got the lower body. Let's put some brace lines here. Okay, so we're gonna help you just understand what needs to happen in the golf swing, and then maybe just by looking at this, it might make more sense to you, and you can start to kind of figure things out. First of all, let's look at your setup. So the setup, this is called your spine tilt. Okay, so your spine is always tilted back. Now that happens because your right hand is always lower than your left to grip the club, and that pulls down your right shoulder. So it's a natural thing. Now in terms of the setup with your ball, according to this tilt, according to the way you're set up, that golf ball should be way out in front here. Now, obviously, we're not going to do that because this is an iron. We have to strike down. So this looks pretty good for a driver setup. So to help you narrow it out, just either do a couple things. I'll look at it from the down the line. You could be there by opening your shoulders, pushing your hands out in front, or just by tilting. It maybe looks like it's opening up at the shoulders, but there is a little bit of excess tilt. But also just let the hands relax more in the center and straighten out that spine slightly. So you don't want a lot of tilt with an iron. Just want a little bit, because we still want to strike down. But if you're here and you strike down, you're going to hit that turf way behind the golf ball, because your right shoulder needs to tilt more as you hit the ball, and you're going to make contact way down over here. So maybe this is like a compensation for you, while you have to feel like you're pushing those hands out in front. So just be wary of that. If you don't take lessons, go get a quick lesson with a PGA Pro, just about basic setups. And if you do take lessons, just ask your pro to kind of remind you of that type of stuff. But let's take a look at what that can cause. Okay, so you do a good job bracing that right side. Okay, so nothing's crossing over that right side. You're trying to get your tilt, but now look at this. You've got an excess tilt the other way. So now your tilt of your spine, let me take away that impact line. So your spine is now tilted towards the target, probably 15 degrees. Now there's only one way for you to hit that golf ball, is to untilt, and now you're striking behind the golf ball, which is probably why you got your hands way out in front. Or you can swing from that. So I guess there's two ways. Or you can swing from there and then really turn, but be stuck on your left side. Now, if I were to ask you, can you pick up your right foot? I don't know, but it kind of looks like you may be able to pick up your right foot. You probably can't pick up your left foot. Now, ideally, you want to kind of get most of your weight to be on that right side. You don't have to sway over there, but at least maintain your posture. So if I'm tilting here and I go ahead and turn, so let me do it. Where's the camera? Okay, if I tilt in here and I go in and turn, you can see how the upper body needs to kind of point away from that target. You actually, instead of going this way, you're going like, sorry, I'm trying to do this on the camera. You're going like that. So you're going like this instead of just turning. So throw a ball. Imagine if you threw a ball from there as hard as you can towards the target. I don't know if you'd be able to do it. So maybe a good way to get the feeling for you is get a football, get a baseball, something, and throw it hard and straight. So if I'm aiming over there, I want to throw it super hard. I'm going to load up on the right side and unload on the left side. Right now, it looks like you're loading on the left side and unloading on the right side. So let's see if that happens as we come down into impact. Okay, there we go. So now your lower body has to kind of re-tilt. So you get back to impact. You have more tilt, right? Which is probably why you had to get your hands way out in front, because you've learned to do that by hitting it very heavy over and over again. Your spine has jumped about 6 inches ahead of where it was. So now you're even hitting more down on it. And we got there by tilting and tilting. So there's just a lot of tilting going on, not a lot of efficient weight transfer. And you can see most of your swing there is stuck on your left side. So, you know, don't get me wrong. I've seen people hit it wonderful from everywhere, but those people that hit it wonderful from everywhere probably spend a lot of time hitting golf balls, have a lot of hand-eye coordination, more so than most of us, and they can get away with a lot. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let me go from the down line to see if this will help you more. Okay, Leo, here we go. Let's take a look at this swing. Yeah, okay, definitely. So there's definitely some tilting going on, which throws off your plane. Okay, so if you take a look, I drew a couple of these lines for you so you know what they are. This is your lower plane line, this is your upper plane line. Now, I've seen people draw planes going, it's okay, you can draw whatever you want, but this is the way I've been teaching for 25 years. So, and it makes more sense to me, it makes more sense to my students. So ideally, if this was a perfect traditional motion, your left arm should get to that top left plane, as most of them do if you just turn around your spine. If we take a look at this, we go to the top of your swing. So your arms are on that plane line, which is great. Club is way below that plane line. It's already opened up. So there's your club face. It should be matching your spine. So you can see there's a lot of rotation going on while you are tilting. So it's basically, you're being disconnected. Ooh, I thought that said something else. I thought it was going to shut down my computer. So you're kind of being disconnected here. Now, let me widen this up. Now, as we take that club up, you're trying to get to that secondary plane line, which is a natural thing to do. And you miss it just a little bit. Okay, so it's definitely low, but look at your head. Your head has dropped significantly. You've already lost a significant amount of your posture, and your new spine angle is here. So now you're rocked back down. You've changed your spine angle. Whenever you change your spine angle, your arm position changes. So now you have to figure out a way to compensate that. And now as we come down into impact, now let's look at your head. So your head's kind of moving back to where it was. There's very little rotation. So you're missing a lot of power. As you strike the golf ball, let me clean this one up. Let me clean this one up. Let me clean this one up. Head's back to where it was. So you returned there, and you've returned with your same spine angle. But look at this, look how much spacing you've lost. So you've moved into the ball, 8 inches, 9 inches, and then there's no rotation. So there's very little power that you're striking those with other than your raw brute strength. So you look like a strong guy, you probably still hit it pretty hard, but you are still suffering. I mean, you are probably losing a good 30, 40, 50 yards on the table by not rotating. And I'm pretty sure you might rotate past the golf ball. So there's you strike the golf ball. Now, hey, I got to rotate. So you're clearly able to get there, but your motion is going into the golf ball instead of staying against that brace line and turning. When you stay against that brace line, you're pulling and you're turning. You're creating a lot of force to snap at the golf ball. When you're going into the ball, there's no force. Think of it like a rubber band. You know, if I'm pulling away from the golf ball, there's a lot of torque that's built up. But if I go into the golf ball, that rubber band's very loose, and you have to just kind of manufacture a lot of power. So you're on the right track. You definitely have good hand-eye coordination for this. You're definitely an athlete, so keep doing what you're doing. For the life of me, please don't hit it higher than that little red thing, because that's going right through that sidewall. And I've done that before, and it's not a fun thing to do. Okay, so especially if it's my mom's house, then forget it. But I hope this helps you, and I hope you enjoy yourself with golf. It's a great game. If you need further information, need further instructions on what I'm talking about, sometimes it don't make much sense, put that in the notes and I'll help you out. Best of luck to you, and Chicago. Alrighty, last but not least, we have Alexander. Alexander, it's going to be hard for me to see where you're from, but I'm still going with the East Coast theme. Let's just say North Carolina. One of these has to be right. You just send me a face on, which is no problem. I'll try my best for you. Down the line really helps as well, so if you want to send me one later, I can see if I can pop it into a future video. But let's get right on this. So already I see a lot of tilting going on. I see that spine angle. Your spine angle's here, so that's a lot of forward pressing with the hands. There's a lot of manufactured impact pressing, which you can see how your club is way off your power source. So your power source is that chest. So now your hands are off that power source. So a couple things need to happen for you to hit the golf ball. And it's hard for me to see from this side, but I'll try my best, because usually at impact, when I see forward pressers, to keep that thing in that position, you have to keep it in that position. If you release that at any point in time, that ball is going way left, or you're hitting it about this far behind the golf ball. So you have to delay your release. So when I see forward pressers like this, when they're tilting and forward pressing, they have an excess tilt or an excess turn to keep those hands in front of you. Let's see which one you do. Let's take a look here. Let's take that club back. So we're definitely bracing that right impact line. However, it looks like you're sitting on the outside of that hip, and from there you can see that, you know, most of your weight's on the outside of your foot. It should be on the inside, so you can push off on something. From there you have a roll, so now you have to basically roll over. You're still keeping your spine angle, which is nice. Club is getting close to parallel, but you have an immense amount of shoulder turns, so that's pretty good. Let's take a look as you come back down. Wow, that's a nice one-piece come down. That's pretty good. But there's not much being pushed off on that right side. So you see how here, you know, this hip should already be pushing into the target, which will help you tilt slightly. So you don't need that forward press. Tilt slightly and then release if you have a natural setup. So let's take a look at what you do. Remember, we're looking for excess shoulder turn or tilt, and at impact, it's still in that shoulder tilt, so that's good. Let's see, there's that hold off. You can't really release the club face. There we go. So there's that, you know, there's that hold off release. So you still have, the club hasn't even passed parallel yet, and it's still sticking down. So at this point, it should already be crossed and released. That's because that forward press, you've now learned to just hold off the release as much as you can. Now, if you're strong, you can get away with it. You still haven't quite released it. There goes that excess turn. So we see this a lot. Look at how much that shoulder turn is. So a lot of shoulder turn, a lot of hip turn. Not bad. I'll tell you what, you can get away with this for about 10 more years before you get a little bit up there in age. Not to say you're old, but 10 years makes a big difference. So, you know, if you really want to help yourself out, you don't need that excess tilt. You don't need that hands way out in front. Bring it back to neutral. Bring everything to neutral. You turn a lot. you have a lot of X factors. You have a lot of positives that you can use correctly if you load correctly and unload correctly. Right now you're looking like you're rolling to the outside and you can't really drive into it. So you're definitely sacrificing some potential storage of power. Your angular conservation is pretty good, but it'll be even better if you can actually release that club face, because you can't really release it. So imagine if you have a release in there, plus you have this huge X factor conserving the power, you'll hit it a ton. So I wish I had it down the line because I could really help see your spine angle loss, but I just know from now, working your setup, try it out. It's not gonna fix things, but it might make things a little bit easier for you. And you can now release the ball, okay? So let me know how it goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again for joining me for episode 26. 27 is in the works, and I have a few makeups that I missed on the last episode. 2 people did send me another view, but it went to my spam, so I'll have to put them on the next episode. So for those 2 that are waiting, have a little bit more patience. You'll be up next with the other 3 or 4 that I'm going to do. We have plenty in store. We're probably going to do episode 31, 32, and I'll just keep taking them as they come in. But be on the lookout for other daily videos that we post up here every day. It ranges from all sorts of stuff. So if you like this stuff, hit that like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's helped the channel grow, and I will see you when I see you. Fairways and greens.